representing the parties to the agreement, my colleagues, our invited guests in attendance of this important press statement. I stand here as the Secretary General of the Committee on behalf of my colleagues present. Press statement by the revitalized Transitional Government of National Unity. Introduction. A priori, the high-level standing committee representing the parties to the revitalized agreement on the resolution of conflict in the Republic of South Sudan, which is responsible for the implementation of the agreement, expresses its gratitude to all the invited guests in attendance. As stated in the invitation, the objective of this press statement is to inform and update all our peace-loving people of South Sudan, the region, and indeed the entire Goodwill International Community partners on the transition of the revitalized Transitional Government of National Unity of the Republic of South Sudan from the 36 months transitional period provided for by the R-axis to the 24 months transitional period provided for by the revitalized by the roadmap to the election starting 22nd of February 2023 and ending 2022 February 2025 with the elections to be held in December 2024. You will all recall that the parties signatory to the agreement endorsed the roadmap presented by His Excellency the President Salva Kiir Mayardit for peaceful and democratic elections and the conflict in the Republic of South Sudan on the 4th of August 2022 and subjected that roadmap to the process prescribed under Article 8.4 of the R-axis. That the Council of Ministers resolved to approve the roadmap by its resolution number 11 of the year 2022, dated the 5th of August 2022. The Revitalized Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission, R-TGoNU, endorsed it on the 1st of September 2022 and finally ratified by the Revitalized Transitional National Legislature in November 2022. The essence of the roadmap is to provide time-bound guidance on the implementation of outstanding provisions that are critical to the conduct of peaceful and democratic elections at the end of the transitional period, not an alternative to the R-axis. And I repeat, not an alternative to the R-axis. The objective of this press statement, therefore, is to communicate to the public, the diplomatic community, the civil society, academia, our faith-based groups, and other constituencies that have interest in a peaceful South Sudan engaging in development and prosperity of its people, that the 24 months roadmap extended transition period officially comes into effect from midnight of Wednesday the 22nd of February 2023 to end by the 23rd of February 2025 with elections held by December 2024. In order to demonstrate the commitment of the R-TGoNU and its leadership to implement the R-axis and roadmap fully in letter and spirit, brief summaries of the implementation status of each chapter are provided to enrich the understanding of and install confidence in the participants. The status of implementation of Chapter 1, Roadmap Annex 1. Items 1 to 12, for those of you who have seen the roadmap, are either accomplished or are all advanced stage of completion as follows. Article 1.17.3 on the establishment of the Judicial Reform Committee, Item 1 of Annex 1 of the roadmap, has been established, functioning effectively, and its mandate extended by 12 months. Article 1.17, Item 2 of Annex 1 of the roadmap on the review of the Judiciary Reform Act is in progress. Article 1.1.19, Item 3 of Annex 1 of the roadmap on the constitution of the Judicial Service Commission to reform the judiciary will follow following the recommendations provided for by the Joint Constitutional Commission. Article 118, Item 4 of Annex 1 of the roadmap on the enactment of the amendments required in the laws enumerated under Article 1.18.1.2 are all in progress, as you will see below. Article 1.18.6, Item 5 of Annex 1 of the roadmap on the presentation of the draft amendment bills to the Council of Ministers and the TNLA are also enumerated, are in progress. Article 1.19.1, Item 6 of Annex 1 of the roadmap on the restructuring and the constitution of the various commissions at the national level. Finally, the alignment and power sharing of commissions with political implications will be endorsed on coming Thursday, by the high-level committee and presented to the Council of Ministers for consideration on Friday, the 24th of February. Article 1.2.1, Item 7 of Annex 1 of the roadmap on the review of Political Parties Act is already accomplished. Article 1.20.2, Item 8 of Annex 1 of the roadmap on the reconstitution of Political Party Council also awaits the reconstitution of the commissions. On bills associated with the other axis in the roadmap, His Excellency the President assented to the following bills. 1, the National Police Service 2009 Amendment Bill 2022, the National Prison Service Bill Amendment Bill 22, the Wildlife Service Amendment Bill 2022, the Constitutional Making Process Bill 2022, and the Transitional Constitution of the Republic of South Sudan Amendment 11 that contains the roadmap. Bills that are submitted to the TNLA, and there are 8 bills that have now been submitted for ratification, namely the Social Service Bill 2022, the Public Health Bill 2022, the Wildlife Conservation and Protected Areas Bill 2022, the Disarmament of Civilian Population Provisional Order, the National Public Health Provisional Order 2022, the Cyber Crimes and Computer Misuse Provisional Order 2021, the National Petroleum and Gas Cooperation Act 2019 Amendment Bill 2022, the Provisional Order, Eastern and South African Trade and Development Bank Provisional Order 2021, and the Audit Chamber Act 2011 Amendment Bill 2022. These are ready for ratification by the Parliament. Bills under process in the Council of Ministers. Again, 8 bills are undergoing various stages of cabinet process, namely National Archival Bill, the Mine Act Bill 2022, Petroleum Act 2012 Amendment Bill 2022, Petroleum Revenue Management Act 2013 Amendment Bill 2022, Anti-Corruption Act 2009 Amendment Bill 2022, the Election Act 2012 Amendment Bill 2022, the National Security Act 2024 Amendment Bill 2021, and the Public Finance Management and Accountability Act 2012 Bill under Bill 2022. I want to point the national security law, where there was apparently a disagreement on Section 54 and 55 pertaining to arrest with or without warrant have now been agreed by the President and the First Vice President, and those will be scrapped. On international conventions and treaties, the following 7 conventions, treaties are due to be signed with the President this week, the week commencing the 20th of February, as follows. The Convention on the Prohibition of Development, Production, and Stockpiling of Bacterial, Biological, and Toxic Weapons and the Destruction Bill 2022, Protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights on the Rights of Women in Africa, International Convention of Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, and its operational protocols, International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, the Paris Agreement, the International Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability and its operational protocols, and the International Convention Against Doping in Sport 2005. Status of implementation of Chapter 2, Annex 4 of the Roadmap. A total of approximately 52 necessary transitional forces previously cantoned and co-trained in Phase 1, items 1 to 6 of Annex 4, completed between 30th of August and October 2022. Following the establishment of a joint command structure for all the security sector, the Presidency, during its meeting of Friday the 10th, 2023, directed the Presidential Advisor on Security to meet the leadership of all the security sectors to fast-track the formation of the middle echelon of the Army, National Security, and organized forces. Therefore, deployment will commence through the various sectors once the middle echelon has been fixed. Thus, the completion of points 1.3 and point 3.2 herein would accomplish the implementation of item 1 to 6 of Annex 4 of the roadmap. Further, the Presidency, in its meeting of the 10th February, directed Presidential Advisor on Security to forthwith make necessary preparations for the commencement of cantonment, training, and subsequent graduation of the remaining phase of the assembled and barracked forces. It's important to note that this is the last stage, and it's agreed this time all the forces will come out with the guns, not like the Phase 1 where forces came without the guns. Status of implementation, Chapter 4 on resource management. The Ministry of Finance and Planning identified 25 reform provisions in Annex 6 of the roadmap, which are being implemented, and the Ministry established a committee of 3 persons since the 25th of October 2022 to execute and implement those provisions. We are yet to find the first quarter report should be coming towards the Cabinet soon. The Ministry of Finance also has started to regularly pay operational funds to all the spending agencies as part of the public finance management reform process to enhance the synchronization of the roadmap and fast-track its implementation. The process of payment divides the total operational budget of all the spending agencies by 12 and pay each institution in monthly portion, the value of which depends on the available cash. Spending agencies are then expected to submit a monthly expenditure report to the Ministry of Finance before subsequent allocation is made. The reform activity has enormously improved the morale of the employees and functioning of government institutions. Status of implementation of Chapter 5 on Transitional Justice, Accountability, Reconciliation and Healing, items 1 to 21 of Annex 7 of the roadmap. Article 1.1.1 and 5.2 on the R-TGoNU initiating legislations for the Commission for Truth and Reconciliation as per Article 5.1.1.1, item 1 of Annex 7 of the roadmap, completed and the legislation is in its draft form. Article 5.1.1 and 5.1.4, item 2 of Annex 7 of the roadmap on the R-TGoNU seeking assistance and cooperation with the AU, UN, ACPHR to design, implement, and facilitate the Commission for Truth and Reconciliation and the Compensation and Reparation Authority is completed. Article 5.1.1 and 5.2, item 3 of Annex 7 of the roadmap on the R-TGoNU initiating legislation for the Commission for Truth and Reconciliation as per Article 5.1.1.1 draft legislation completed, as well as that of the Compensation and Reparation Authority, already awaiting a workshop to be organized by the R-TGoNU within February to consider prior to the final legislative process. Article 5.2.3, item 4 of Annex 7 of the roadmap of the Ministry of Justice in collaboration with other stakeholders to conduct consultations for a period not less than 1 month prior to establishment of the Commission for Truth and Reconciliation will be effected upon the ratification of the Commission for Truth and Healing and that of Compensation and Reparation Authority by the revitalized Transitional National Legislature. All the other Commission for Truth and Reconciliation and Healing operational provisions, which are items 6 to 16 of Annex 7 of the roadmap, shall be implemented upon the ratification of the Commission for Truth and Reconciliation Bill, item 5 of the roadmap as per Article 5.2.1.3 and 5.2 of the RRACs. As stated earlier, the bills for the establishment of Compensation and Reparation Authority is drafted and awaiting the conduct of a workshop to consolidate its contents prior to the consideration by Council of Ministers and subsequently by the R-TGoNU before the end of February. On the establishment of the Hybrid Court for South Sudan, as required by Article 5.3.1, sub-Article 5.3.3.1, and .53.3.3 is pending the guidance from African Union as provided for under Article 5.3.1.1 of the RRACs. That's the implementation of Chapter 6 on parameters for the constitutional making process, Item 1 to 12, Annex 8 of the roadmap. Article 6.1, Item 1 of Annex 8 of the roadmap on the R-TGoNU on initiation and overseeing the permanent constitutional making process during the transitional period is ongoing. Article 6.15, Item 6 to 16 of Annex 7 of the roadmap on the R-TGoNU to provide adequate funding for the permanent constitutional making process is in progress. Article 6.7, Item 3 of Annex 8 of the roadmap on the R-TGoNU convening a workshop for the parties to agree on details of conducting the process of making the Constitution is accomplished. Item 8.6, Article 8.6, Item 2 of Annex 8 of the roadmap on R-TGoNU identifying and engaging a renowned institute to facilitate and moderate the permanent constitutional making process workshop is completed. Item 6.9, Article 6.9, Item 3 of Annex 7 of the roadmap on the preparation for drafting the legislation of constitutional making process based on the outcome of the workshop to guide the permanent constitutional making process is accomplished. Article 6.6 and 6.14 of Chapter 6, Item 5 of Annex 8 of the roadmap on the permanent constitutional making process is in progress, and the bill has been assented to into the law by the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs outlined the design, form, and content of the permanent constitutional making process by South Sudan as detailed hereunder. 1. The reconstituted National Constitutional Review Commission will comprise of 57 members headed by a chairperson with a deputy chairperson of the opposite gender, and both of them being appointed by the executive of the R-TGoNU in addition to a Secretary General who shall head the Secretariat of the Commission. The Constitutional Drafting Committee, CDC, will compose of 15 members and is an established a technical, independent, non-political, and neutral body tasked with drafting of the Constitution. The preparatory subcommittee will compose of 25 members, including a chairperson, a deputy chairperson who shall be of opposite gender. The National Constitutional Conference, composed of 1,200 members, where 100 members are drawn from each of the 10 states and 30 members from each of the 3 administrative areas, while 110 members shall be from other constituencies, will also be established. The Constitutional Assembly, which shall take over the responsibility of deliberations and adoption of the permanent Constitution of the Republic of South Sudan, to be dissolved thereafter, as per the memo of the Minister of Justice presented to the Cabinet on the 19th of January 2023. Item 1.17.7, Item 11 of Annex 1 of the roadmap on the establishment of independent and credible constitutional court that will be effected upon the constitution of the Constitutional Review Committee. Article 1.20.6, Item 12 of Annex 1 of the roadmap on the establishment of the National Election Act to conform with the terms of the permanent constitution awaits the drafting and adoption of the permanent constitution. The Ministry of Cabinet Affairs, Justice, Constitutional Affairs, and Finance and Planning are required to fast-track preparation of a budget for implementation of the roadmap on the Constitution Making Process Act 2022, and all the relevant institutions are urged to implement sections of the roadmap that are pertinent to their mandate within the proposed timeline. Article 6.6 and 6.14, Item 6.16 of Annex 7 of the roadmap, the constitution of the National Constitutional Review Commission, and appointment of preparatory subcommittee for the convening of the National Constitutional Conference is in progress. As I said, this committee here is responsible to complete it. Item 6.16, Item 6.16 of the Annex 7 of the roadmap, the R-TGoNU and the NCRC to seek assistance from regional and international experts for the constitutional making process. We have contacted UNIMIS and others, and that's also in progress. Article 6.4, Article 6.5, Item 6 to 16 of Annex 7 of the roadmap, the permanent constitution-making process to be completed within 24 months into the transitional period. That means we have only 12 months to produce a constitution. Article 6.4 and Article 6.5, Item 16 of Annex 7 of the roadmap, the permanent constitution-making process to be accomplished, will be detailed further as the budget is prepared. To conclude, ladies and gentlemen, the high-level standing committee has established a subcommittee of 5 persons to urgently plan and structure the process of disseminating the roadmap, that is, items 1 to 7, Annex 3 of the roadmap, as well as the budget for its implementation. The committee is similarly advanced discussions with UNMISS and the UNDP, and we greatly thank them, on the operationalization of pre-election activities, item 1.1 to item 6 of Annex 2A of the roadmap, and elections and post-elections activities, Article 1.1 to Article 5, Annex 2B of the roadmap. Finally, the high-level committee hopes that this press statement, this press conference, now clears any political interpretation of the transition from the 36 months transitional period of the revitalized agreement on the Regional Conference Republic of South Sudan to the 24 months extended transitional period of the roadmap. And the committee confirms that the transition has no impact on the components of the R-TGoNU, and it is business as usual. You will notice that I have not touched on Chapter 3. I know that the ministry is functioning in terms of facilitating humanitarian agencies, clearing, exempting custom duties, providing visas, and assisting return of IDPs. However, we had challenges that has hampered us from obtaining details of how they have implemented the provisions that are relevant to the ministry in the roadmap. We hope that within the next few days, we will have another new minister who will cooperate and will focus on the implementation of the roadmap. Otherwise, I thank you very much, and any questions will be taken by any of my colleagues. Thank you very much.